don't think that I need the microphone personally. Good morning, honorary chair and members. It's an honor to be here, sitting here for my very first testimony in this job position. My name is Peter Bailey. I started July 1st of 23. And I've been working in this field for about 35 years, and I have never seen a state with such huge support as the legislature here gives to TSD. So I want to sit here and talk a little bit more about how you've made an impact on our deaf and hard of hearing children within the school. We were established in 1856, before the Capitol was established, but I was not here in 1856, and I know you continue to carry on what we've been doing for our children. As a deaf individual and a member of the deaf community, I myself am a product of a deaf school since the age of 3. And I know the value of having a deaf school continuously to operate. And TSD is one of the greatest schools in the nation and one of the strongest schools to continue because of your support. So I want to thank you personally and thank you from our school as well. I know you all have the information that we've given to you, and I know you're all very busy. So this is there for you to review. If any questions, I do have this guy sitting right next to me who can answer those questions when it comes to finances. But again, I just want to take this time to really thank you all from the bottom of my heart and your continued support.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is Justin Waddell. I'm the Chief Financial Officer at the Texas School for the Deaf. Thank you for your time, Peter. As LBB was referencing, TSD brings one exceptional item for your consideration. It's a large item. It is for upgrades to our central utility plant. This plant provides hot, cold water and feeds HVAC services for roughly 85% of the occupied space on campus. Those are primary spaces occupied by our students. That's elementary school, middle school, high school, transitional access programs for age 18 to 22, as well as all of our primary dormitories. This current central plant is nearing end of life. It was built back in the early to mid 1990s, and we're needing some refurbishments based on expansion plans for the future associated with our master plan. This operation is currently running at about 90% capacity, and we're asking for your consideration for this line item. Total request is $35.3 million. I know it's not a small amount to be asking. I'd like to offer just a quick hat tip as well to your thanks. Last legislative session for the 5% raises enacted in 2023 and 2024, those were well received by the staff and greatly appreciated. I'm happy to answer any additional questions you might have about this line item.
I don't see any questions. Thank you very much. Oh, Senator Campbell has a question.
I just want to say it's a comment. It's nice to hear thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Senator Zaffarini.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sir, on page 3 of the LBB document, there is an item about the impact of educational professional salary increases. Would that level of funding be sufficient for you to be competitive in attracting good teachers?
Would you like to answer that, Peter? Or should I?
Great question. It is difficult to recruit and retain deaf and hard of hearing teachers in deaf ed with that salary. It's always been competitive. We do have a hard time finding teachers outside of the state of Texas who can move here with the cost of living here. So it is difficult, and we're always looking for opportunities to recruit them with a better salary.
Do you have a difficulty in attracting teachers who can sign in English and in Spanish or another second language?
Yes, we do. Yes, ma'am. It is difficult because you're talking about 60 deaf schools nationwide, and there's only maybe 1 or 2 deaf prep programs for teaching. So there's a lot of teachers that are in that field, and we are competing from one pool of candidates nationwide. So it is difficult to get them where the cost of living is now. People in California, Texas, and other states are really struggling to find quality teachers where they're coming from.
Thank you. Do those who can sign in bilingually get paid more than those who can sign in one language only?
My understanding here in the state of Texas, we do have two different stipends. One is a bilingual stipend where they do receive extra pay, but it's not exactly an increase to their base, but it's a stipend.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes. Senator Perry?
Thank you, Madam Chair. At LBB, real quick, sitting through work groups, I know we funded several things over the last few sessions. I think some of it was more personal property, furniture, equipment and stuff, but for a work group, when y'all come, if assuming I'm going to be on that work group, or if that work group is, can we get the history if there's been any capital improvements in that budget to fund it? I don't remember.
There's been a lot, yes.
Quite a bit, so.
A lot.
All right, and then this question's for y'all aren't going to have this answer, and someone listening may have this answer, but y'all should be engaged in this conversation. Not being a deaf person, but seeing people that have mastered it with cochlear implants and things. We spend a lot of money to educate, and not making a judgment on which money's to be spent, but I need to understand if our money is best spent or if we could actually help solve the challenges you guys have. So I don't expect an answer really, but I would love to be educated, get up to speed on whether the medical side of this conversation could solve a lot of the problems that your kids face. Because we got only so much amount of money, but if we could actually impact someone, and I tell you what made a believer, I had a kid that came to Tech that was deaf with a cochlear implant that played basketball, was out there in front of 15,000 kids screaming and yelling at every game, and really was a good basketball player. But when he did interviews and things, he was very, very well. He could handle that well. So I'm just interested in learning more on that aspect to see if there's ways to spend money. I don't know if all eligibles, I don't know where that fits, but find somebody that can come to me and talk to me about that before we get out of here this session.
Senator, yes, we can get a member of our staff to coordinate with your team to provide you that information. Yes, sir.
Senator West?
And thank you very much, Madam Chair. Remind me, as it relates to teachers, what's their starting pay, and what's the upper level? And is their compensation tied to any other formulas?
I can answer that. Current starting pay for our teachers is approximately $61,000. That does not include any additional stipends that those teachers may be eligible for. Overall, the average teacher salary, inclusive of stipends, is currently about $73,000 a year, sir.
Is that competitive with other similar schools?
Well, we are tied to the Austin Independent School District, so they are the largest district in the area. So sometimes yes, sometimes no. We're also in competition with other outlying areas, Lake Travis ISD, Round Rock, Pflugerville, et cetera, that have their own pay bands.
Are we having problems attracting teachers?
Right now, I would say no currently. We're just about fully staffed for those key positions. As Peter was mentioning in an earlier statement, we're in competition for roughly 300 university graduates with degrees in deaf education nationally each year. So we've got to put our best foot forward. Part of that is outreach, our human resources, attracting and marketing to the available talent, coordinating with those universities that do offer those deaf education programs. So we're at the forefront. We're leading the charge to engage with them even before they complete their bachelor's degrees, to think of potentially TSD as being a viable location to seek employment and support the deaf community.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
I have a question.
Senator West, if I could just add a comment. When we're talking about teachers, that is one group of employees, but we're also a residential school. So we do have teachers' assistants, dorm staff. That is also very competitive and tough in recruiting because their pay is low in comparison to a teacher. With a teacher, we are tied to AISD, but for the rest of our staff, it is difficult.
Thank you.
I have just a question because there is a significant cost to the student transportation where the kids go home on the weekends. Just refresh my memory. All of the students are parents are Texas residents. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
Okay, and that's a requirement for enrollment in the school?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a time period of residency like required prior to enrollment, or can they just establish Texas residency and then enroll their children?
Once you establish residency, you can apply for admission to TSD.
Okay, and do all the children go home on the weekends?
We have roughly 240 students that are full-time residential, meaning they transport in, we either charter bus or we fly them in some situations on Sunday nights. They check into the dorms, they have class Monday through Friday. Friday afternoons, we do the opposite, transport them home through charter bus services or through airlines.
And this goes on every weekend, correct?
Every weekend.
And
Yes,
how-
ma'am. And then in addition, we have roughly 350 local students that live in the Tri-County area that are transported through either parents or guardians, local area school districts, or through our conventional yellow school buses.
And so one of the costs associated with running the school and taking care of the children is that transportation cost, and it is significant. Do you know the total cost a year?
Yes, ma'am. We're pushing upwards of $2 million a year now. That has more than doubled in the last couple of years. During COVID, there was high demand for charter buses for various state initiatives.
Correct.
I'll leave it at that. And then there was also some consolidation within that industry in which some of the local mom and pops that we were formerly doing business with were bought out by bigger entities. I competed that contract twice just to make sure that I was looking at the numbers correctly, but across the board, rates went from at least double to almost quadruple in some of the quotes.
So I'm showing that it's 7.6 million for transportation for the 26-27 biennium. Does that sound right?
That would include the staffing, that's local transportation for those that live in the
Yes.
local area, in addition to all what we call homegoing transportation and the airlines
But that's
and the
a
associated
cost-
staff.
I'm sorry, that's a cost for 2 years to make sure everybody gets home for the weekend.
Yes, ma'am.
No matter where they live. Okay, just wanted to make that clear. All right, any other questions? Okay, thank you very much. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Okay, members.